Hi folks, how you doing? It's James JT at the movies, back today for another video. I've been away for a few weeks and I'll explain why at the end of the video. But I thought that I'd do my first video back showing you what I've picked up in the month of February 2021. For anybody who's wondering where January's update is, it's still to edit and I will have it out soon and I'll explain at the end of the video obviously why there's been that delay. But let's jump into the DVDs and Blu Rays that I bought this month. No 4K pickups this month. There wasn't anything that I either fancied upgrading or sort of buying from new. So it's just mostly DVDs, as obviously that's primarily what I collect, and a nice little stack of Blu Rays as well. Let's dive into the DVDs. So, the first DVD that I picked up, I actually picked up the day that I shot my January update, and I ummed and ahed about whether to include it, but because I bought it on the 1st of February, I was really strict and decided that it would go into February's update, and that is Bill and Ted 3, Bill and Ted Face the Music. Now, I really enjoyed this, you know, and we watched it, bought it, and then watched it that very morning that I bought it, and I thought it was better than part 2 and captured more of the spirit of the original than I thought the second one did. But the elements that worked in part 2, primarily William Sadler's iteration of death, they kept and brought it back. And I thought, you know, nice way to sort of round it all off, and you know, a bit of a callback. I thought that Bill and Ted themselves, you know, they didn't feel stupid reprising it in the 50s. Pleasantly surprised with that one. Really quite enjoyed it. As I've mentioned before, whenever I nip into to Poundland, there's quite a big one near me, and I go and get like my cleaning supplies, you know, washing up liquid, bleach, detergent, that sort of stuff from there, because it's just so much cheaper than getting it in the supermarket. And of course, they have a DVD and Blu Ray section. This huge one near me in the centre of Leeds has a section of DVDs and Blu Rays that I think would rival a small HMV. But anyway, I picked up a few titles there, and that's pretty much where the rest of these DVDs are from. But this one is 50 Cent in Get Rich or Die Trying. I've not seen this film before, but the synopsis on the back intrigued me, and so I thought that I'd check it out. I like music films. I like, you know, obviously dramas and thrillers, and this looks to encompass all of that. So yeah, looking forward to checking that one out. The next one I picked up, and I can't remember what DVD it was that I saw the trailer for it on, but me and Laura were watching something here in the movie room, and the trailer for this film came on, and I was sort of like, well, I mean, 10 years ago I'd have never watched this film. I'd have turned my nose up at it. But I'm a much different person now when it comes to watching films. I'll give anything a go once. And this film really spoke to me and Laura. We were just like, oh, that looks really sweet. And again, it's got a music vibe to it, and a brilliant cast: Maggie Smith, Tom Courtenay, Billy Connolly, Pauline Collins, Michael Gambon, and it's the quartet. I picked this next one up purely to finish a trilogy. I've actually not seen this, but I've seen the first two and quite enjoyed them. It is The Chronicles of Narnia, The Voyage of the Dawn Trader. I read all the books years ago when I was a kid. Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe is my favourite, and it's my favourite of the 3 films so far anyway. I've not seen that one, as I just say. But yeah, I'm looking forward to checking that out at some point. I rewatched Narnia not long before Christmas, because it feels really Christmassy with the snow and everything, and really still quite enjoy that one. I think the adaptation holds up quite well to the book. I picked this next one up actually in Tesco's at the beginning of the month, because the copy that I've got, and I never see this out in the wild anywhere, so I was really surprised to see it, but the copy that I've got I picked up in a charity shop, and right at the beginning of the film, a scene ever so slightly skips and you miss maybe 5 seconds of whatever's going on in the scene. And when I first started collecting DVDs, I wasn't as picky when picking up second-hand titles, and obviously this one's a little bit scuffed up sort of thing, and it's one of them where I've sort of dealt with it because I don't watch it all the time, but I've never come across another copy in the wild. And then saw this in Tesco's for £3. So it is The Commitment, which is an absolutely fantastic music film. I think the last time we watched this was when it was on either Netflix or Amazon at my aunt's house a couple of years ago. My uncle fancied putting it on while we'd gone round for some tea, and ended up sitting there, me, Laura, aunt, uncle, cousins, and having a good time with it. It's a brilliant film, so really good to have a decent copy in the collection. The other one will get slung in the bin, I should think, now. I will just add as well before I go on to the next title that buying titles that won't play isn't something that I would even dream of doing now, and even the slightest mark or scuff on a disc, and it's not going to be for me. I've been burnt too many times with with that, but in my younger, more carefree days, like I say, I wasn't as picky. The next film that I picked up, I haven't actually seen the documentary myself yet, but Laura's a real true crime fan, and she's been watching this bit about the Cecil Hotel that's on Netflix. And in that documentary, they drew comparisons to the film Dark Water. Even though this film came out about a decade before what the documentary's going on about with the disappearance of the young girl at the hotel there, apparently there are some very, very eerie sort of similarities and coincidences between what happens in that film and what happened to this young girl in real life. So anyway, I had a look on Amazon because Laura was going, "Oh, do you have that film? I'd love to watch that." And I have a film in the collection called Dark Water, but it's the legal drama that Mark Ruffalo and co did about 18 months ago. So I had a look and it was cheap on Amazon, a couple of quid. So I thought, yeah, why not? We'll order that. So that came last week, and we sat down one night and watched that, and it was all right. Nothing special, but certainly not a bad horror film. Pete Postlethwaite's in it, and I love him whenever he turns up. He's just a great actor. John C. Reilly as well. What's the leading lady? Jennifer Connelly. I wanted to say Jennifer Jason Leigh, but no, Jennifer Connelly's the leading lady in it. And the three of them play off each other quite well. Tim Roth as well as a good little supporting role. So, next titles that I picked up. So, I picked up a couple here, so going towards completing my Clint Eastwood filmography, I'm very much trying to make sure that I have everything that the man's ever been in or directed. Folks might remember, and I'll put a little annotation above, that I had an absolute steal of the century on Facebook Marketplace over Christmas. There was a lady down the road from me selling the DVD version of the Clint Eastwood collection with, I think, 60 odd of his films in. So that ended up sort of completing most of that for me. But it only runs up, does this edition, to about 2004. So anything after that I didn't already have, I'm still looking for. And the next two were the two of them. So this is Invictus. It's one that he's directed. The next one, I've not seen either, Flags of Our Fathers, but again, keeping up with collecting Clint Eastwood's filmography, they are films that I will get round to watching at some point. I absolutely love everything Clint Eastwood's done that I've seen so far, so I can't imagine that I won't love these. Okie dokie. So the next one I picked up in Tesco's as well when we went to go and do the weekly shop, and it was the fact that Bill Shatner's in this that sold it to me. I think this has got a different title internationally, but it's called The Tomb: Devil's Revenge, and it looks like a really, really poor sort of straight to DVD horror action adventure jobby. But I'm just curious to see what a 90-year-old Bill Shatner's like in a horror action movie more than anything. So this really is the definition of a curiosity buy. I'll probably report back on that when I've watched it. If you've seen it, I'm assuming it's going to be absolute tosh, but let me know down in the comments below what were your thoughts. Picked this one up in Poundland. I've not come across it in the wild before. I think there's a Blu Ray of it coming out at some point later in the year, and if I like this, then I might upgrade to that. But I thought in Poundland for obviously £1, can't go wrong. A colleague of mine at work's been telling me I need to check this film out if ever I come across it, and not come across it for a decent price on Amazon, not come across it in HMV when they were open, and you certainly don't see it in the limited selections that you get at the supermarket. So I was chuffed when I found Dog Soldiers in Poundland. Another one we picked up in Tesco's. Picked this up again to go towards completing my Jackie Chan filmography collection. And was really excited at the prospect of this because it's starring Jackie Chan and is directed by Stanley Tong. And for those who are fans of Jackie Chan's filmography, you'll know that Stanley Tong and him have frequently collaborated together. And probably one of their most famous collaborations is Rumble in the Bronx, which is fantastic. This wasn't. This was absolute garbage. But there we go. I picked this I picked this next one up actually after watching my mate Carlini09's top 10 Steven Seagal movies, and I thought I had this in the collection because I've got a couple of Seagal box sets and then some individual releases, and I thought this one was in one of the box sets and went to go and watch it, and it wasn't. So jumped on Amazon because you sold me on the premise, buddy, and I picked up Out of Reach. I'm afraid I didn't really care for this one when I popped it in. It kind of took me out of the film, the fact that I'd looked up in it, because I'm like, that's Steven Seagal talking, but then in the next scene, Steven Seagal's on screen, but it's like a sort of, you remember like the old sort of Asian cinema films where they dub them over in English and the voices are all really exaggerated, and hello there, how are you doing today? Sort of, it's the scenes with that in it, with Seagal, and apparently they changed quite a lot of the story of this film, so a lot of the dialogue they shot didn't fit, and then Seagal wasn't available to do overdubs. So in some scenes you've got classic Steven Seagal, and then in other scenes, like say you've got this really sort of just like generic North American voice, and it kind of took me out of it a bit. The end showdown with the main baddie didn't really sort of do it for me either. There was like a bit of a sword fight in like a big marble sort of, you know, very sort of like official sort of like US Capitol type looking building, and yeah, it sadly didn't do it for me, and I'm a big lover of Seagal. But you never know unless you watch these things, do you? So there we go. So that was one that I picked up. Next one I picked up, again, from the trip to Poundland. I was surprised I didn't have this, but saw it and thought, oh yeah, I'll watch that. Checked, no, I don't have it. So Bulletproof Monk. Know nothing about this next one, but picked it up purely for the cast, really. It is The Mexican with Brad Pitt and Julia Roberts. That sold me straight away. Brad Pitt, Julia Roberts, I'm going to watch it. So the next two that I picked up are sort of guilty pleasures of mine, if you like. And I'll quote the great Flickpick YouTube channel. John over there said, if ever he gets to sort of like his midlife crisis and everything's gone to pot sort of thing in his life, he's going to revert to a childlike state and watch Disney movies. Well, I like to think that it's exactly the same for me, except instead of Disney movies, it's Scooby-Doo movies or things by Hanna-Barbera. I'm an absolute Scooby-Doo nut. When I studied media in college, and like, you know, film production and just everything that goes into that, there was one thing where I studied animation, and studied the Scooby-Doo cartoons and the, you know, how the voice actors do it, and, you know, all of that sort of thing, how it's all brought together, and found it really fascinating stuff. And I've loved the show since I was a kid as well. So these next two are two Scooby-Doo DVDs, so please don't judge me too harshly. But we've got Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo, the complete season. When I were a young lad, and back when I had loads of VHS, I had this, I might still have it in the loft actually, I don't know if I got rid of it when I got rid of most of my VHS, but I had this big double cassette Scooby-Doo thing, and it had, you know, classic episodes in there, and there was one episode I always enjoyed and always rewound, and it was Scooby and Scrappy basically sort of, and the rest of the Scooby gang going to the Oscars, or like the version of, and there's a monster terrorising that, and I just sort of had the inkling the other week to, like, I would really love to watch that again, and so did a quick Google search and found that it was on this season DVD, and it was $6.99 with free postage. So I'm like, yeah, I'll have that. So I actually sat one night and watched it, and a couple of the other episodes off the disc. I last thought I were an absolute nutcase, but hey ho, and then picked this one up as well, that I've not seen before, but it was in the local Tesco's, and Scooby-Doo, the Sword and the Scoob, and it's basically Scooby-Doo put into the whole King Arthur, Camelot, Excalibur story. Not bad, but there you go. It's just like a typical run-of-the-mill sort of animated film, family-friendly film. Quite enjoyed it. And then the last thing, DVD-wise, that I picked up this month was one that arrived just yesterday, the 28th. We saw again, whilst I can't remember what DVD we were watching now. We were watching something in here after tea. And the trailer for this movie came on before it, and I'm like, ooh, I've not seen that before, and it looks interesting. It's In the Cut with Mark Ruffalo, Meg Ryan, and Jennifer Jason Leigh, which is where I was getting Jennifer Jason Leigh from before with the other film. So that's all the DVDs that I picked up this month. Blooming, I'm just looking at the timer on this video. I've not half been chatting away. Let's jump into the Blu-rays, shall we? I picked up National Treasure, the double pack, National Treasure and National Treasure 2, Book of Secrets, to upgrade my DVDs. Fancied watching these again, and fancied seeing them in high def. I've had the DVDs, or some of the first DVDs I ever bought, and just fancied upgrading them. So, yep, got that to replace the DVDs. The next thing that I picked up Batman Soul of the Dragon. Now, it's a bit cheeky them calling this a Batman movie, really. Batman is in it, but it's more of a Bruce Wayne story, and I actually really liked it for that. I was not expecting it to be amazing when I went in, because, I mean, a lot of the DC animated stuff is actually fantastic and better than the live-action stuff, but some of the more recent ones that they've come out with haven't really been my cup of tea. So I wasn't expecting, you know, amazing things from this, but it's set in the 70s, and it's basically sort of a story calling back to Bruce Wayne's time training out in the Far East, and one of his old sort of basically one of his old school buddies, if you like, from the fighting school that he goes to out in the Far East, is Richard Dragon, another DC Comics character, comes looking for him because basically the gateway to the Dragon has been compromised, and they sort of get the old school gang back together, and there's Bronze Tiger, Lady Shiva, Batman, who's predominantly Bruce Wayne for, like, say, 3/4 of the film, and then only sort of puts the bat gear on in the end of the film for the third act sort of big battle, as it were. And yeah, I actually found it a really interesting story. It'd probably made a really good live action one, or like a limited run series or something. But yeah, would recommend checking that out. When I was in Poundland, I picked this one up, Eagle Eye. Haven't seen it before, but don't mind Shia LaBeouf, don't mind Michelle Monaghan in things, so figured why not for a couple of quid. Stealth, I picked this up on the back of, we watched Next at the beginning of last month, the Nick Cage one, and Jessica Biel was in it, and I was really impressed with her in that film, and then saw that she was in this, and the premise grabbed me when I was having a nosy in Poundland, so I picked it up. Next, by the way, if you've not seen it, don't. Goodness me. The film started off borderline brilliant, like I was hooked. I mean, I am a really big Nick Cage fan anyway, so I'm possibly slightly biased, because I always probably go in giving him a bit more credit than perhaps he's due when I watch his movies anyway. But I went in with this, and I was, you know, really caught up in it, and then the plot gets going and things get interesting, and we're introduced to more characters, and then they start the sort of like the typical sort of romantic relationship that they put in these action movies between Jessica Biel and Nick Cage, and then we get to the end of the film, and I don't want to spoil it in case people haven't seen it, but they did something so stupid, and it was edited so poorly that I actually thought my DVD had skipped, and then it just abruptly cuts to the end of the film, and I was like, well, sod that. That were absolute crap. But there you go. So there's a complete and utter aside for you. I've got just a couple of Blu-rays to show you now. Both are box sets. So again, this one's another upgrade for me. I actually got this for the second and the third film, because I already have the first one on Blu-ray, but didn't want to keep hold of my tatty old DVD sets anymore. So I picked up in the Zavvi sale the Mummy Trilogy. That is the Mummy Returns, and the less spoken about the Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, probably the better. It's alright, it just, Rachel Weisz should have been in it, and I can't remember whether it was scheduling conflict or whether she saw the script and didn't like it, but for my money, if they couldn't have had her come back, I think she played it in such an iconic way that I think they should have written the character out of it, maybe killed her off screen, and you know, in fact, I've actually pitched that before to mates when we've watched that film in years gone by. They should have killed her off and had that as a sort of a, you know, Rick O'Connell's character, sort of, 'cause he has to team up with his adult son in this anyway. Maybe have that as a moment for them to sort of like maybe, you know, build some bridges if they've become estranged after her. I think it could have made an interesting plot point anyway, rather than, you know, putting somebody else in. I think they put Maria Bello in, and she wasn't up to the part really, which is a shame. The next one I picked up, I've never seen these films before, but I'm really excited to watch them, and I'm going to be watching them at some point, probably not this month, but maybe the month after. I have a bit of time off work, and I'm probably gonna sit down and get through these. John over at Mondo Chilovic, and I think Carlino 9's got them as well, and a load of folks have picked this up recently. and have said what a great film it is. And I've had a conversation with quite a few people about, that I should pick these films up, but I just wasn't prepared to spend the money that Arrow were basically asking for these films. And then in the Zavvi sale that I managed to pick the Mummy up, the house collection got reduced to 25 quid, and I think it was down from 50 or 60 quid or whatever. And I thought, well, I'm jumping on that. There's 4 films in there, and if it was 25 quid or whatever, it's 7 quid a film or whatever. It's absolutely brilliant deal. So yeah, jumped on that. So that, ladies and gents, boys and girls, is all the DVDs and Blu Rays that I picked up in the month of February 2020. Possibly not as big a haul as I would normally pick up, and like I say, no 4Ks, because there hasn't been anything that I've been after, and with the shops not been open, there's no really to browse, and I don't really go browsing on the old Tinterweb looking for them that much 4Ks anyway. But anyway, as I mentioned at the start of the video, I've been away for best part of a month now, and I've spoken to a few people anyway. But I just thought I'd let you know. My lovely nan, Hazel, sadly passed away in the first week in February, completely out of the blue and unexpected, and it's devastated us all in our family. As I'm sure you can imagine, and I just hadn't felt the creative urge, as it were, to make videos and go through the fun as it is, the time-consuming process of editing them and making sure that they're right before you guys see them, and obviously then uploading them and doing all the all the bit that comes with that. I just couldn't find the energy, and yeah, my nan meant the absolute world to me. She really, really was a special lady, and I won't bore you all with stories about mine and her relationship, because it will mean nothing to you. But she's played along with my granddad, who's still here and is obviously absolutely devastated, like we all are. She's played an instrumental role in my life and my upbringing, and I'm absolutely beside myself that she's not here anymore. I'm really grateful that I got to have the time with her that I did. She was an angel, absolute angel, and yeah, absolutely broke me. And I lost my dad a couple of years ago as well. Again, in quite sort of sudden and traumatic circumstances, and my own mental health took a bit of a dip after that, and it's been a rocky couple of years. And actually doing this and talking to you guys about films has been one of the things that's actually really helped me sort of climb out of that bit of a pit of despair, if you like. And obviously my music as well, that I know a lot of you, and really sort of throwing myself into these creative projects has helped me process and deal with that. And so anyway, when this happened, it was just like an absolute kick to the stomach, and a real blow, and knocked me for six. I'm obviously still dealing with and still processing that information at the moment, and it's difficult because you want to be with family, but because of COVID and everything that's going on, it's not really possible to do that in the ways that you'd like to do. And yeah, it's just been a really, really challenging time. So I just wanted to explain for those who maybe watch the channel and had wondered where I've been, because I normally put something up at least once a week, if not twice where I can. And yeah, I just needed to take a little bit of time just to get my head round that awful news and get myself to the point where I felt like I was fighting fit again. And that's still probably a bit of a way off for me actually at the moment, but I feel up to getting back to normal life, back to work, back to socialising in what ways we can at the moment, and this being one of them. And I felt motivated today to make this video for you guys. I would also like to say, on a more positive note as well, just going back to talking about the channel, I passed 200 subscribers whilst all this has been going on, and I know I announced in mid-January that I'd be doing a bit of a giveaway, a bit of a competition for that. I have actually bought the prize. I haven't got it to hand to show you, but it's I'm going to do a giveaway probably towards the end of this month, maybe. I'll get that out on the channel when everything's sorted out at home, sort of thing. I've got some videos that I've already shot that are going to be coming out sort of systematically over the next sort of couple of weeks or so, and then once that's done and dusted, I'll shoot that video. But the prize I'm going to give away is a 4K copy of Star Wars: A New Hope. So I'll do a video nearer the time explaining what the competition is going to be and how you can enter. But thank you so much for all your continued support, folks. I really do appreciate it. It's absolutely brilliant to be welcomed into such a fantastic little community here, and I've made some really great friends. And just thank you very much. Yeah, that's been my DVD and Blu Ray update, guys. That's been a little bit of an update as to where I've been. I hope that you're all safe and well. Please take care of yourselves, and I will see you again real soon. Cheers.